It is nice to have Marshall back. Marshall would have been very excited in the last few days if he would have saw the 35 Zumas that we had. And
Marshall, you got to bring 70 Zumas.
I just bought my own bourbon. I gave up waiting.
Oh, you got to bring 70 now.
Yeah, but Marshall, you can't afford the quality bourbon I'll get you.
50 cents a bottle, that's the good stuff.
Okay, we're sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas, Yaakov Zev, Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Tzion, Ben Yaakov Zev, L'Refu Shalema for Moshe Aryeh Ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKohen, L'Refu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored anonymously for a Zivik Hogan for Batya Bat Sarah. We're sponsored for the physical, spiritual, and emotional health of Yosef Shmuel Ben Miriam. And we are co-sponsored that all those that are waiting to have a child should have healthy mommy, healthy baby, and specifically for Ariel and Lior Bas Elza Rivka.
Arise with full Shleima Mordechai Tzvi ben Ruskana.
Mordechai Tzvi ben Ruskana.
And Yochai Ben Ruchama.
Yochai Ben Ruchama. How did it go this morning?
We haven't heard from anyone yet. The testing, I'm sure, has been done. I'm sure everybody's waiting with bated breath for the results.
It should be good news. Lila Nishmas Devara Bas Nosen. L'Refu Shalema for Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fadel, Chavrei Adaf, Aaron Ben Sora, and Nachman Yaakov Ben Sora. Gedalia Engel's grandfather's yahrzeit. Tzvi Ben Moshe Yehuda. His neshama should have an aliyah. Freda Bas Rachel Rivka. Chaya Freda Bas Rachel Rivka. Nechamasar Bas Miriam. They should have a refuah shalema b'sei shecha Yisrael. Okay, so we're holding by Gufa, which is 6 lines from the bottom of Daf Ches Amud Beis. A very interesting daf tonight, Rabbi Yisai. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. Gufa, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shlomim, this is getting back to Berish, who has a thing of going into the Beis HaMikdash. The courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash is not enough for him. The Azara, that's kid stuff. He wants to be in the temple itself. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shlomim sheshachton beheichel, a shlomim that was shechted inside the Kodesh itself, ksherin. Why? Shenema v'shachtu pesach oil ma'id, you should shecht it at the door of the oil ma'id. Now, if it's considered to be good enough because it's by the door of the oil ma'id, so v'lo yeh tafel chamim in ikar, that which is secondary shouldn't be better than the oil ma'id itself. And therefore, if you shecht it inside, it's good. So the Gemara now questions that reasoning. Meisvei, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Eimer, Minayim she'im hikifu oivdei kechavim es ha'azara. What happens if Rachmana litzlan, Goyim, encircled the temple courtyard? It wasn't safe to be in the temple courtyard. They were shooting arrows and throwing rocks. Now, kachim has to be eaten. It can't be eaten outside. How do we know? How do we know? Kohanim nichnosin, that Kohanim could go inside the Heichel, inside the Kodesh itself, v'oichlin b'kachim, and they could eat the meat of the chatas, the meat of the ashim, v'sharei menachos, and the remnants of the mincha. Talmud Leimer, it says, "B'kodesh hakadoshim teichlenu." You could eat it b'kodesh hakadoshim. Now, so that means that you could eat it inside the temple. But why?
Does it say a pasuk like that?
Huh?
Does it say a pasuk like that? The Kodesh HaKadoshim Teichleinu?
Yeah, it's not literally a pasuk, but it's a connection of a pasuk. It says what's the lashon of the pasuk? Yeah, it is a pasuk. By kodesh hakashim tachlanu kol zachar yoichel oisai kodesh yelach. Now, says the Gemara. See, Gedalia is about Torah, so Gedalia really thinks I know the whole Torah about Peh, which is I hate to disappoint him, but I'm sorry, I don't. Although I had a real shock. You know what? It's amazing what children could do. My oldest grandchild, Chanochaim, is 16 years old. We had the schus of having him here this Shabbos. His other Zayda, my son-in-law's father was very sick during COVID. He ended up passing away from COVID, and he started saying a lot of Tillim, and he would like say the whole Sefer Tillim every day. And anyway, this Shabbos at the table, he started talking about Tillim, and he pulled out from my Svarim Shank a Sefer Tillim, and he said to me, Zaidi, start a pasuk. So I opened up the Tillim, and I started a pasuk, and he finished it. He said, okay, go somewhere else. And I tested him on 8 or 9 psukim, and I said the pasuk, and he finished the pasuk.
Wow.
It is really amazing. Wow. A 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
It just shows what we're capable. I mean, of course, he's a talented human. So Gedalia thinks that I'm like that, but Gedalia, I'm sorry, I'm not. Says the Gemara. Gedalia could take, pasuk and chumash and know it right away. He's about Kaira, and probably a lot of Navi too because of the Haftarahs. But me, I'm just.
Go ahead, finish it.
Yeah.
There's more ways than one.
Oh, very smart one.
El Barry Lamar, be quiet. So anyway, says the Gemara. It says that, sorry for the interruption over here, Rabbi Isai. It says that, yes, if there's a siege around the Azara, you could go into the Heichel and eat the Kache Kachim, because it says, B'kodesh HaKadoshim Teichlenu. But according to the logic used, we shouldn't need an extra pasuk. V'alam likra, lamer, we should say that the pasuk says normally, what do we do with Kodesh Kache Kachim? B'chatzar oil mayid yachlua. You should eat it in the courtyard of the oil mayid. Now, if the reason why you could eat it there is it's because of the courtyard of the oil mayid, that's secondary. You surely should be able to eat it in the oil mayid. Now, why do we need an extra pasuk of B'kodesh Kadoshim Teichlenu? Says Gemara, there's a big difference. You see, when it comes to Beresh shechting the shlamim in the avodah to Hashem, if you do it in a Nazara, you surely should be able to do it in the temple. Avodah, the Adam Oived B'makom Rabbi, avodah that a person serves in the place of his Rebbe. It's to do worship. It makes sense to do it in closeness to your Creator. So there, Aminan Shalei Tafel Chamanekad. If you do it in the Azara, you surely should be able to do it in the temple itself. Achila, feeding your face. feeding your face is an action of an animal. Achila she'eino demoichel b'makom rabbi. Normally, it's not proper to feed your face in front of your master. Time at the cost of kra, if it wouldn't say b'kodesh kadoshim teichlenu, lo cost of kra, lo yei tafel chaman me'ika lo yamrinan. We wouldn't say this logic. We wouldn't say that if you could eat it in the courtyard, surely could eat it in the temple. Now this is, I must add over here, that this is so, even though the eating of kachim is not like regular eating. First of all, it says that the eating is mishulchan gevaya kazachim. It's from the divine table. And it says, v'ochlu oisam asher kipar bahem, that the actual eating is a kapara. But even so, perhaps they restricted the more animalistic activity of achila to only the courtyard. That's why we needed an extra pasuk. I'll tell you an interesting story to show you what it means to raise children. This story is going back about 40 years ago. I was in Eretz Yisrael, and I was traveling with my cousin Rav Beryl, married the Friedrich Klosenberger Rebbe's daughter, the Shefa Chaim's daughter. And I was traveling with the Rebbetzin together with her little girl in a taxi. And the little girl was hungry. So she wanted to eat a cookie. She turned to her mother and in sweet Yiddish said, Megmin essen in a shirut, in a taxi, or is it considered achila b'shuk? Wow. It says you're not supposed to eat in the street.
Right.
Right? That's a little child.
Wow.
Yeah, I would imagine the child was about 5.
No.
It just shows what you could do with proper chinuch. I also remember being reprimanded. I didn't think he was right, but I was eating a tuna sandwich, learning whenever I'm not with my wife, this was many years ago, I'm learning if I'm eating something in a restaurant. I was eating a tuna sandwich in a restaurant, and I had a sefer open, and an old European rabbi walks over to me, and he scolds me, pas nicht as a rav soll essen b'shuk. So he felt that the restaurant had a din of a shuk. Of course, Rav David Feinstein didn't feel that way. Rav David Feinstein, the East Side, always ate in the pizza shop. Always. So Rav David Feinstein, I'm in good company. But, you're talking about achila b'shuk. No, any food. Any food.
The Hasidim were marked it on.
What?
Achila b'shuk.
No, I don't know if they're not going to eat in a restaurant. I see plenty of Hasidim in restaurants.
No, my wife goes into stores and she gives out food samples. In Williamsburg, the men won't stop and have it.
I won't do that either in a store. I think that is achila b'shuk. I won't do that either. But that's not a restaurant. The restaurant is. Anyway, Itmar. Here's an interesting shayla. Let's say, the mincha has to be mixed with oil and kneaded. Let's say you kneaded the mincha with oil outside of the azara and then brought it in. Rabbi Yochanan says it's possible. Reish Lakish Amar Kisheira. Reish Lakish says it's kosher. Reish Lakish Amar Kisheira, because that's the pashtus of the pasuk. Dichsiv v'yotzak alei shemen, you pour into it oil. v'nosan oleh levina, you put on it frankincense, and then v'hodar ve'eviyah b'nei Aaron ha'kayanim v'kametz. Then you bring it to the kahanim and they do kmitza, so which implies that it only needs a kayin from kmitza and on. Mikmitza ve'elech mitzvahs kahuna. Li made al yitzika ubliya, at the pouring of the oil and the mixing sheksherin bizarre. Now, since even somebody like Marshall could do it, so umidi kahuna loy, if you don't need kahuna, you don't need to do it inside either. Pnim nami loy. That's a very good argument. That's the argument of Reish Lakish. What's Rabbi Yochanan's counter? Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula. Why? Kevan da asiyasa b'kelihu, since you have to do it in a vessel. Nehei de kahuna loy, since you don't, even though you don't need a kayin, but pnim miyabai. And we have a raya to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Tanya Kavasei de Rabbi Yochanan, this is a very clear brisa. Balalazar ksheira. If Marshall mixes it, it's kosher. Chutz l'chaymis azara, but if it's outside of the azara, psula. Okay, that's a definitive thing. And by the way, we could bring an interesting proof. If somebody asks you, does somebody like Reish Lakish know all the brises? The answer is no. Here's a brisa that Reish Lakish wasn't aware of. If he was aware of it, right, he wouldn't have argued. An Amayra never argues on a brisa. That's the remarkable thing. An Amayra never argues on a brisa. The Niskatna Hadairis is so clear. It's so.
Could a clay shoris be taken out of the azara?
It doesn't necessarily say a clay shoris. It says a keli. Itmar. Mincha shechasra koidem kmitza. Here's an interesting shaila. Let's say Yisrael Fisher brings a mincha, and some of the flour gets missing before the kohen takes the kmitza. Can you replenish it? Rabbi Yochanan Amar Yavi Metoich Be'isai v'Yimalena. You could bring flour from the house and replenish it. Reish Lakish Amar Lo Yavi Metoich Be'isai v'Yimalena. You can't replenish it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar maybe Metoich Be'isai v'Yimalena. Why? Because kmitza kavale. Because it's only the kmitza that locks it in. Before the kmitza, if some of the flour gets missing, you can replenish it. Reish Lakish Amar Lo Yavi Mitoich Be'isai v'Yimalena. Why? Because kedushas keli kavale. Now that, by the way, that is a little bit mashma that it's put in a clay sharis. But anyway, he holds that the kedusha of the keli locks it in, and once it's locked in, if it's missing, it's considered chasra, and it's possible. Eisvei, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, well, it says chasar alug, if the lug shemen of a mitzayra is missing, some of it goes missing, so the din is, imat shelo yatzak, if before you pour it, yimalenu, you could refill it, even though it was already in a keli. So the Gemara says to Yufta, that's actually a refutation of Reb Shimon ben Lakish.
What's driving the desire or the need to replenish? Is it because it has to be a shear, or once it was...
No, you need a shear. You have to have a full shear. You have to have a yisaron.
The assumption here is that it was a perfect shear. And
not an assumption. It is.
Oh, but it says chaser. Chaser means chaser
right.
to be the shear.
The shear of an yisaron.
Okay, if I had piled... Okay, I see. So if I piled up more than I needed, then some fell off.
No, it's no good. Yeser is no good either. Chaser or yeser is no good. It has to be an isaron. Now, I really should I really should start saying hello. I don't know if Marshall is watching this, but we already have 36 Zoomers here. It's really something. Yaakov Warman, Irving Fishbaum, Mel Zachter, Marshall Kasser, Menachem Yamansky, Saba, Dr. Guy, Shimon Klein, A.B. Spry, Mo Kushner, Yisrael Fisher, Reuven Pollack, Barry Cement, Eddie Chazan, Baruch Ian, Dr. Black, Shalom Fogel, Chaim Lerner, Rabbi Kranz, Nachman Chapler, Dr. Udell, Itchy, Yitzi Fuchs, our newest member. Marshall, did you already meet Gabriel, Gabe? Okay, so Gabriel, I'm sorry, but some nights we have to put up with Marshall, but that's if you're in the share.
Yeah.
If you're in the share, you have to take the good and the bad. Yehuda Solomon, Moshe Lehman, Stephen Holtzman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Daniel Rosenberg, Rebellia Yaffe, Avi Ament, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, Shimon Deer. Hey, Shimon, you've been so missed. So missed. It's wonderful to have you. Yitzi Muller, Shimon has a little baby, which might be attributing to the fact that he's been so spotty. But Shimon, it's great to have you, and we hope you'll come regularly. It's interesting. My screen says 36, but I only see 35.
That counts yourself too?
No. Oh, it is 36. It's in rows of 6. No, it's
6 times 6.
1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's in rows of 6. It is 36. It's interesting that Mark had a perfect record. I guess when Marshall is not here, Mark feels it's safer to come. Anyway, and here in the shul we have Berish Kesselman, Gedalia Engel, Chaim Kramer. We have Michal Avram, Ruvain Shanit, Iran, and Danny Vogel. It's great to have everybody. Itmar. So here's a new case. Shirayim shechosru bein kmitza l'aktar. Here, Yitz took the kmitza, and before he got a chance to smoke up the kmitza, the remnant of the flour, some of it went missing. The wind blew some of it away, some of it went missing. Rabbi Yochanan Amar maktir kaimitz alein. You could do the aktara anyway, even though it's chaser. Reish Lakish Amar ein maktir kaimitz alein. Reish Lakish says that you can't. So the Gemara says we're going to see that Rabbi Eliezer holds that in a carbon, even if the meat is totally burnt or lost, you still could do the aktar. So I'll leave it to Rabbi Eliezer, kuli amalei pligi. According to Rabbi Eliezer, nobody argues. Ki pligi, I'll leave it to Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says that by a carbon, if there's a kazayas left of the meat, you're allowed to do the aktar. The question is, what about by mincha? The Tanan, nitmu shireha, if let's say by a mincha the shirayim became tameh, nisafru shireh, it became burnt, avdu shireh, it became lost, kamidas Rabbi Eliezer, according to Rabbi Eliezer, ksheira, kamidas Rabbi Yeshua psula. So therefore, man the apostle, the one that parcels it is Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says that it's puzzles, and that's why we hold that shirayim that are missing make it puzzle. Oman the Machshir, the one that holds, Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that it's kosher, he says Rabbi Yeshua is only talking about where nothing is left, where all the shirayim got burnt, all the shirayim got lost. Ad kan lo yama Rabbi Yeshua hasam elo de lo yishtayer. Aval heicha de yishtayer, if there's a kazayas left, then I feel Rabbi Yeshua maydalei. And even Rabbi Yeshua agrees that you could smoke up the kmitza. The Tanya, Rabbi Yeshua Aimer, Kala zvachim shebetoyre shenishtayim mehem kazayas basar, that is left, even though, you have a whole animal to eat. If there's left, most of the meat got tummy, or most of the meat got lost. If there's left a kazayas of the meat, or a kazayas chalev, or a kazayas of the sacrificial portions, kazayas from the kidney, from the lobe of the liver, zorek adam. You cannot, however, combine the eating of the mizbeach and the eating of a person. Kechatzi zayis basa, kechatzi zayis chalev, and a zorek adam. You can't combine the half a zayis that's eaten by people and half a zayis that's eaten by the mizbeach. But by an ayla you could combine everything because it all goes on the mizbeach. Right? You could combine the meat and the fats because it all goes on the mizbeach. An ayla is kula kol. By ayla afilu kechatzi zayis basar, kechatzi zayis chalev, zarek adam. Why? Mimnei sheba ayla kula kol. It all goes on the mizbeach. Uba mincha. However, if all that's left is a mincha, then even though the whole mincha is intact, lo yizrek. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? We're talking about a meat carbon. Where does a mincha come in? Mincha mayavidita. What are you talking about a mincha? Who's talking about a mincha? Says Gemara, no, it's the minchas nesachim. It's the mincha that accompanies the meat carbon. Amra Papa minchas nesachim. I might think, so kedaitach amina hoyelu bahade zevach asya, since it comes together with the carbon, ki gufei de zevach dami. It's like meat, and therefore, if some of the mincha is left, you could be. You might think that you could be makdir. You could excuse me. You could be zarek the dam. You could sprinkle the blood. Kamash Malon, that you can't. So then, if Rabbi Yeshua says clearly that if there's a kazayas left, it's good, so what would be the reason that Reish Lakish would say that even according to Rabbi Yeshua, it's not good if all of the shirayim is not there? Oman the apostle, Shani Hocha, it's different over here by the mincha. The amakra v'heirim akayin min mincha, the kayin removes to on the mincha es askerasa, v'hiktir hamizbecha, and smokes up the kemitza on the mizbech. And since it says ha mincha was with the hey ayadiyah, ha mincha, it means that you have to have ha mincha. It means you have to have everything there. Ha mincha is a hey ayadiyah. Hey ayadiyah is like it says by the carbon tamid. It says v'hikrives ha'oila. Ha'oila is the special oila. We learn out from there that you have to offer the tamid before any other carbon because it's called ha'oila. So here when it says ha mincha, what does it mean with the hey ayadiyah? It means that ha mincha ad isei l'kulei mincha. Until you have the whole mincha intact, lo yakter, you can't smoke up the kemitza. Now, what does Rabbi Yochanan do with ha mincha? V'idach min ha mincha means mincha shahoisa kvar. It means that you had the whole mincha at the time of the kemitza, as it says in the parentheses. Shleima b'shas kemitza yakter. As long as it was whole during the time of the kemitza, afal gav the hashta ein shleima, even though now it's chaser, you're allowed to do it. So Eisvei Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. So Rabbi Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, you're saying that if something is missing, it's no good? We learned by the Lechem Aponim, if ad sheloi porka nifras, if the bread broke before you removed it from the table, then halachem puzzle, all the loaves are puzzle. Ve'ein maktir alav es habazichim, and you can't smoke up the sensifils. Ve'im misheparka nifras, but if it broke after it was removed from the table, im misheparka nifras lachma, then halechem puzzle, the loaves are disqualified, but a maktir alav es habazichim. V'amar Rebbe Lazar loy parka mamish. The cutoff is not if you actually removed it. Elakevin shegias mana lifrak. Once it came the time on Shabbos for it to be removed, v'afal pi shaloi perka, even though it wasn't removed at that point, even though the lechem is possible, but you could smoke up the sensifils. But according to Reish Lakish, who says that if some of it is missing, that in between the kmitza and the haktara, you're not allowed to smoke it up. So here, even though it broke after you removed the bazichans, which is tantamount analogous to kmitza, it says you are allowed to smoke it up. So that's a kasha on Reish Lakish. Amalei says, yeah, but that teaching, Hamani Rebbe Eliezer, that's going according to Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer says that even if it's all burnt and all lost and all tameh, you're allowed to do it. But I'm talking about Rebbe Yeshua. However, the Gemara counters, if this was Rebbe Eliezer, but this Mishnah is a universal Mishnah. Ana aminu lach Mishnah shleima v'amrit li at Rebbe Eliezer, and you say that it's only going according to Rebbe Eliezer. If it's going according to Rebbe Eliezer, it shouldn't just say if the bread broke. It should say even if the bread was all missing. Rebbe Eliezer ma'yer yanifras afilu sarva ovid nami machshav. Even if it got burnt or it got lost, it's also good, because according to Rebbe Eliezer, even if it's entirely missing, it's also good. So ishtak, he was quiet. Then he didn't have Reish Lakish didn't have a response. So the Gemara says, why didn't he have a response? We could wiggle out of this. Says the Gemara, "V'amai shosak leima leitzibur shani." That, you know what? By the tzibur, it's different. In other words, even though Rabbi Yeshua says normally it's no good, by a mincha it's no good because it says ha mincha. But here we're talking about a communal carbon. A communal carbon is different because the community has its own leniencies. You're allowed to do it b'tumah. Hayu v'ishtri tumah legabayu, ishtri nami chaseris. Then it should be okay if it's missing. Now, since the Gemara didn't give this answer, so Amar Rav Ada bar Ava zois oimeres achisaron, when something is missing, that is as defective as kabal mum, dami. And since there's no leniency of a balmum by a tzibur, there's no leniency where it's defective. Ve'ein balmum b'tzibur. This two dots over here is a questionable two dots. We find sometimes in the Gemara that two dots placed by an editor, a later editor, it could be very questionable. This is one of the questionable two dots, because two dots generally signifies a new discussion. This is not a new discussion. This is a continuation.
So why didn't you do it? Why, in the later editions, why didn't you say it out?
Well, you see, Art Scroll will take certain things out, but they'll only take it out if they do an extensive research in old volumes of Shas. And if they could find an old volume of Shas that doesn't have it, then they'll take it out. You don't want to mess with the Vilna Shas. So if they find that they will take certain things out, but if not, they don't touch the integrity of the Vilna Shas. Believe me, there are those that say that Art Scroll is the highest paying kollel in the world. The team of scholars that work in Art Scroll, I know because my brother is one of the biggest of them. The team of scholars that work in Art Scroll are extraordinary. As we welcome in Naftali Jablin for our 37th Zoomer of the evening. Wow, it's really something. Really something.
I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah, really something. You know, Marshall, I did my effort. I put up some signs. You know, I'm trying for you. You know, I know you have needs.
I try to get it on the hockey board every time I go to a game, but they won't let me do it.
Boy, wouldn't that be something, huh? Wouldn't that be something?
If I could hack into their Bluetooth, I would do it in a second.
The drive on the Jumbotron, huh?
Yeah.
There's somebody that part of Eli Stefanski's Daf.
Yeah.
He's a pilot. He
Yeah.
announced it after he introduced the services. He actually got someone to start Daf Yomi with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got Gavriel with the sign. Gavriel saw the sign. The truth of the matter is that my president, Rich Lenner, was talking about putting it up on the electronic billboard at Cross. You know, about the Daf and the Chumash here.
Hire a little plane and,
Yeah,
put it in the air.
right. A blimp. Yeah. The Daf Yomi blimp.
It's a good idea. Stick it up on Barry.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I gave Mark and I and her last night. I complimented him how rock steady he's been. But I didn't make the connection. That you weren't here so long. So so anyway, so Yosef Rav Papa v'ka'ama lahosh maitza. Rav Papa was sitting and saying over this sugya. Amalei Rav Yosef bar Shmaya Rav Papa. Mila yaskinan. You couldn't say that the reason why it's different and it's allowed is because it's talking about the tzibur. Because Milo Yaskinan, the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, isn't this argument of Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish even b'minchas Aimer the tziburi? Even in the minchas Aimer, that Reish Lakish would say that if some of the shirayim was missing, you wouldn't be able to smoke up the minchas Aimer. And it's a tzibur, upligi, and they argue. So you can't say that the lechem aponim is more lenient because it's the tzibur, because they already argue even on a carbon of a tzibur. Amar of Malkiai, so Malkiai asks Rabbi Yochanan, Tani Chada, we learned in a Braisa, Misalta, from all of its flour, She'im Chasra Kolshu Psula, that if some of it is missing, it's possible. Mishamna, from all of its oil, She'im Chasra Kolshu Pasal. V'tanya Idach, and we learned in another brayso the same lesson from another pasuk. V'anoiseres min mincha, that which is left over from the mincha, and we'll see that we darshan that which is left over and not a leftover of a leftover. So you need the whole leftover. Neiseres min mincha, prat lemincha shechasrihi. That excludes a mincha that some of it is missing, or v'shechasar kumtza, or some of the kmitza is missing, or v'shaloi hikter milevay nasa klum, or you didn't do any of the frankincense. But the bottom line is we have two psukim where it's missing. So the Gemara asks, Ramalkia asks, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Trei kroi b'chasiris lamali. Why do I need to have two psukim that tell me that if it's missing, it's no good? Lav chad lemincha shechasra kaidem kmitza. One is if the mincha is missing before you take the kmitza. V'chad l'shicharayim shechasra ben kmitza l'chatara. And one is where it's the shirayim is missing in between the kmitza and the smoking it up, showing clearly, like Reish Lakish, that if some of it is missing in between, you can't do the smoking up. And therefore it's the refutation of Rabbi Yochanan in both things, that if it's missing before, you can't replenish it, and if it's missing afterwards, you can't smoke it up. Says the Gemara, Loi. Chad lemincha shechasr kaidem kmitza. One is if the mincha is missing before kmitza, and not that it's telling you that you can't replenish it, but rather that you have to replenish it. The may be malena in, if you bring it from your house and replenish it, yes. V'iloi loi. The chad l'shirayim shechasu ben kmitza l'aktara, that if the shirayim is missing between the kmitza and aktara, Rabbi Yochanan says, I'll give you this. If the shirayim is missing between the kmitza and aktara, when you smoke it up, you're not allowed to eat the shirayim. That I'll give you. The chad l'shirayim shechasu ben kmitza l'aktara, the afal gab the maktu kaimitz alein, even though you could smoke up the kmitza, oisin shirayim asurum la'achila. That shirayim is forbidden to be eaten. The bailu, we actually have the shaila. The bailu ledivrei ha'omer shirayim shechasu ben kmitza la'aktayra. If the shirayim is missing between the kmitza and aktayra, maktu kaimitz alein, and the divrei ha'omer, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that if the shirayim is missing between the kmitza and aktara, makter kaimitzalim, we could still be makter the kmitza. Oisin shirayim mahem achila. Could you eat the shirayim? Amar zeiri, no, that you can't do, because amar kra, the only time you could eat it is when v'hanaiseres, when it's the remainder. V'lo yanaiseres min hanaiseres. Not if it's the remainder of a remainder. That was a remainder of a remainder that you're not allowed to eat. So even Rabbi Yochanan acquiesces. Even Rabbi Yochanan agrees that if the shirayim is missing, there is a flaw. You're not going to be able to eat the shirayim, but you do smoke up the kmitza. Well, Reish Lakish says you don't even smoke up the kmitza. Rabbi Yanai says, no. If the shirayim is missing, you could eat it, because it says minha mincha. From the mincha means mincha shoyse kvar. As long as it was whole in the beginning, at the time of the kmitza, even if some of it is missing afterwards, you're allowed to eat the remnant. Now, we said that if you do kmitza with your left hand, it's no good. How do we know this? Kamatz b'smail. If you do the kmitza with the left, psula, it's no good. So asks the Gemara, Minani Mili, how do we know it's no good? Amar Reb Zeir the Amar Kra, because it says Vayikra ves hamincha, he brings the mincha vayimale kapoy mimena, and he fills up his palm, the kmitza. It just says kapoy. Now, kav ze'ini yedemau, I don't know which palm. Kishu Aimer, when it says by the process of putting the oil on the mitzayra, the kain takes from the leg of oil, v'yotzak al kaf hakayin asmalis, and he pours it on the left palm of the kain. since over there it specifies left, that implies everywhere else where it says kaf without specification, it means the right. Kan smalis, hakol makom shenema kaf, eina el yamin. So the Gemara says, who says? Maybe there it's necessary to tell us left, to tell me that over there it's dafka the left hand. Says the Gemara, you're right, but smalis achrina ksiv. It says smalis twice. But if it says smalis twice, then we should say you should be able to do it the right hand, because ein miyad achamiyad ela l'rabbis. And it then would say that the right hand is also good. Says the Gemara, smalis achrina ksiva. It says a third smalis, kan smalis, vein achar smalis. Says the Gemara, yet, but there's another possibility. Maybe this is revealing that all over the Torah, kaf means left. Ve'em adrabba, ma kan smalis, afba alma, whenever it says kaf, it's also nami smalis. It says the Gemara, arba smalis ksivei. It says 4 times, 2 by the Mitzayra Ani, 2 by the Mitzayra Asher, Treba Ani, Treba Asher, to tell me only over here it's the left palm, but everywhere else where it says kaf, it means the right palm, and therefore the avoid of Kmitza has to be done with the right. What a really, really enjoyable Gemara. Again, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to have everybody this evening. I want to tell the Olam because it says that when you do something for people, you should mention it. My wife's brother made a chasana tonight, and of course I'm going to go over now, but I missed the chuppah not to miss the shir, to be able to maintain the shir for everybody. And look at the tzibah that we have. Again, if anybody else wants to sponsor the Chumash here this week, 718-916-3100. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.